Why, hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Egg Wars. Glad to see you. I hope you're doing well. Today, my boy, I haven't seen him in a little while. I haven't seen him in the comments in a little while, but I get Snapchats from time to time. My boy Jake Horvath, I did this shirt for him some time ago. I drew the little anime girl with the Donald Trump hat. So I still feel like I did pretty good work on this shirt. It's not terrible. This is no sketch. This is all marker, all one go. It's kind of the blending and shit. And of course, if you were around when I was doing my my streamaganza where I was making these shirts, I was exercising in these shirts, so there's some smudges there from that. But shout out to my boy Jake Horvath, and shout out to everybody tuning in. Much love to you, much appreciation to you. I hope your week is starting off on the right foot, on the right path. And what helps me get on the right path is a little bit of caffeination. A sip. Oh yeah. Alright, so today, this video is going to be probably a little bit interesting. It's probably going to be a little bit disjointed, because I'm basically just going to go straight off the cuff on some topics that I've not really talked about much. But before I get into the main meat of today's Egg Wars, I just want to say something. So if you're one of the OGs, one of the some hundreds, maybe who are still around and still have been regularly watching my videos for the last 2.5 years, I'm going to say 2.5 years for this particular thing, I have decided today that, I think that I'm going to be ending the Ugly Gang era. And if you don't know, Ugly Gang was a thing I created basically back in May of 2015, where I had a little guy with sunglasses and a paper bag over his head, so he was like, I wanted to make ugly cool. That was kind of my thing going into it. I was like, I commissioned this logo and a couple different art styles with it, the icon on my YouTube channel. I commissioned these pieces because I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be an ugly cool. I want to rep for the manlets. I want to rep for the people with recessed maxillas. I want to rep for the people with recessed chins and jaws, the people with bad eye area. Everybody, all the curry cells, the ethnic cells, the cope cells, the, whatever cell you might be, whatever, if you're not considered to be a stud, somebody should be out there repping for you too. So that was my mindset going into Ugly Gang. And I've kept this logo now for up until this point. But, as much as I still have much love for all my people of that, of that sort, the genetically inferior, perhaps, you could say, I haven't really repped Ugly Gang like that in kind of a long time. It's just not really, I'm not doing like ugly people rap, I might do rap and I'm ugly, but it's just like, it doesn't really fit my self right now. And then of course also we had last year, I've mentioned this before, but Ugly Gang, I created it. I was the first one that I ever heard of that did Ugly Gang, but there was essentially like a second coming of it down south that blew up more. And also I've been informed that my paper bag sunglasses man apparently is it's like a character in a popular webcomic that might have come out. I don't know if it was out when I designed this logo. I really don't know, to be honest with you. But basically, people don't know what it's about. People don't know what the logo's about. Like my ideas or whatever, my thing I created has essentially been done by other people in other ways. So it's like, it's more recognizable from other things. So it's kind of like sad to say, but it just doesn't really represent myself to the best fullness of me, So today I've decided to go ahead and I'm saying, what? It was a good 2.5 years, a good era, good run, but I think it's going to be time to bring it up to something that's a little more representative of myself. So I'm working on having a new profile piece commissioned right now. However, the guy who I'm having commissioned it had already actually drawn a picture for me last summer, a guy who goes by the name of Deadware, Dedware, and his work is fantastic. He actually now, love to spice this topic up some more, but he actually did the logo for Hide Wars, the profile, the channel icon for Hide Wars. But he had drawn the picture that I'm uploading today for my new egg icon. He actually did this for me last summer of 2016, so I just want to make that clear right now. But I am having him do a new piece for me, and I'm really excited about that. His work is just phenomenal. If you're not familiar, I definitely encourage you to check his work out. It has the perfect sort of thing, it's the perfect sort of atmosphere that I enjoy about art. And me thinking about this reminded me, people have a tendency to ask me things like, hey Eggman, what's your favorite movie of all time? What's your favorite television show of all time? What's your favorite book of all time? And if you know about me, I have the most horrible, most awful, most dreadful lack of ability to pick a favorite anything. I cannot pick a favorite food, although I do say food is probably like the best I can do, because I always say my grandmother's spaghetti with Italian sausage and Parmesan cheese, she made it oh so special, and it always will be in my memories and heart forever and always. And she's partially Italian, so it's okay. I'm not appropriating anything there. I'm gonna sip my sip. Of course, being a fat piece of shit, I really like to enjoy eating just about everything for the most part, except for some seafoods. But when it comes to books or artists or music or anything, I'm just like, good golly gosh, I just don't know what to pick, because there's so much that I do enjoy. But today I'm gonna press myself. I'm just gonna basically open up the old lockbox in the brain, and I'm just gonna start going and saying, hey, what do I like? Maybe we're gonna figure something out today. We're gonna call this artistic influences, because I also had a comment I read from somebody who said, Eggwars is big, it's blowing up right now, I'm talking about stuff, but what exactly is it that I do? What exactly, am I outside of this? What was I doing beforehand? And frankly, really, to be honest with you, most of the other people who probably followed me, pretty much were probably doing it just for the streams I was doing, because I've did a lot of streams. Haven't streamed for a few months now, I've been banned, unfortunately, but that was another thing, another draw that I had was streaming. But I do have some artistic something inside of me, to a degree. And I would say probably my most artistic influence is just, I don't know if I have a particular person. I don't know if there's a particular artist I can credit, a particular director of a particular film. Although, obviously, as a parent, since my intro for Eggwars is inspired from Lost Highway, David Lynch, and we did the pizza and me in the park video. That was also inspired by David Lynch. I really do enjoy David Lynch's work a lot. Like, I don't browse the TV board on 4chan. I don't know what everybody says is Kino. I don't follow the graphs and the charts of the recommendations with the 3x3 squares and all that different stuff. I don't really follow that, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I don't really follow that stuff, but I've always had a draw to this surrealist perspective on things ever since I was even a kid, because I've mentioned, like in the episode number 9, when I'm talking about my art I drew when I was a kid, some of my first stuff I drew was just like giant monsters eating the world, and I would draw, I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe it's weird because now I have a sort of a, separating myself from an artistic perspective on a day-to-day basis in my day-to-day life. I like to feel like I want to promote wholesomeness, in a way. I want to promote healthy, wholesome ideas and ideologies and that sort of thing. I'm not one where I really like to promote perversity, but I did sort of have somewhat of a perverse artistic insight in a way. And what I mean by that would be, when I was a kid, I would just, maybe it was something to do with being edgy, I don't know, but I would go, when I would do these drawings when I was a kid, I just liked to make things that were really just, you would look at it and be just, perplexed. Not that it was so impossible to understand what you were looking at, but, from a very young age, I was drawing, I'd draw a beast. I would draw a 4-legged beast and just say, how many eyes can I put on this? How many teeth can I put in this? Maybe I watched too much Courage the Cowardly Dog or Real Monsters, although I watched Ren and Stimpy too. That was a big thing I watched growing up, Ren and Stimpy. And so the thing about that program was not, I mean, obviously there was definitely some grotesque imagery in there where it would be like, there might be some shock value, some shock humor. And in a way, it's weird. It was like, I mean, that was a great show. No matter how you slice or dice it, I always enjoyed that show just for the humor of it, the adult humor and the shock of imagery and things like that. But it did have, I think, an influence on my artistic feelings, because, I mean, even to this day, what I just made that video, the relaxing tune video that people seem to enjoy, that is kind of a blend of these particular things that, I took 3 different videos that I had when I was in Ventura, California. And actually, I think the most back layer of that video was actually from Isla Vista. So I had Isla Vista with 2 layers that I had of me in Ventura, California, just walking around. And I essentially, I messed with like the color schemes of the video, and I kind of like stretched them around. Just pretty simple stuff, really. But it gave this very, like, people were saying, this hurts my eyes to watch, this is like an acid trip, so you had, like, the visual was very disjointed and very, like, it was uncomfortable to watch. But then you had the melody, which came in with this sort of light, airy, innocent tune, and the vocals, once again, I tried to give them sort of a light, that's the whole thing. Gonna relax. I'm gonna relax. It's just like, ooh, I'm gonna relax. Do, 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 do. But then the lyrics are talking about, horrible things like, the opioid crisis and not having insurance and, HIV, and basically all these things that are just horrible. It's kind of like, the way I would think of it, it would be basically, you're looking at flowers and daisies and everything's good, and then you go and you trip over a dead body or something, it's like everything's da 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 da, and then all of a sudden there's something horrible and you're like, you're already in your little stride of happiness, and all of a sudden you're forced to face this grotesque, awful truth, and it's like, it's like beautiful and horrifying at the same time, That's just kind of, I don't know. It's just something that speaks to me. And then sort of, the other video I just did recently, the girls video, where, a lot of bright, rich color palettes. We have colors shifting. I have the hues shifting, and it's highly saturated. And then I have, there was a video that was in, the Santa Monica Pier, the bass video. I recorded that in the Santa Monica Pier. And then you would have, I was in, I think I was in Ventura. People probably don't even remember this, but I was in Ventura, California, and I had a Periscope stream in this hotel, I think it was. But I went to, I was at like this Jack in the Box, and then I was in this gas station. I actually called an Uber. I called an Uber to a Jack in the Box because I walked from my hotel to Jack in the Box, and it was like a 40-minute walk, and I got there, and it said it was open 24 hours, but it was only the drive-through that was open 24 hours. So I called an Uber to the Jack in the Box just so I could go through the drive-through, and I had beer there. And this is going to turn into like a whole other story. I'm sorry. I just want to talk about this story. So I called this Uber to the Jack in the Box, and I was like, dude, we got to go through the drive-through. So we go through the drive-through. There was a gas station next to Jack in the Box where I'd bought a 6-pack of beer. So I go through, I get the Jack in the Box, and I don't think I even drank my beer at the hotel that night. I don't think I did. No, because I had already had a beer. Yeah, I'd had a can of Old English, I think it was, and I had already been drinking at the hotel. I don't know, man, that was a clusterfuck, but I ended up with a 6-pack of beer that I wasn't drinking until my last hotel stay that I had when I was in California this summer was in Oxnard, California. I stayed at this motel that was like the Palace Inn, and I have on my designer remix that I did was that song called Life. I did the designer remix, and that's like the thumbnail that is me at this motel. I haven't released that either. Maybe I will do something with that footage yet. But I ended up smashing the fucking bottles. It was a rundown shithole. You smoked in the rooms. It was a rundown place. There was hookers there, probably getting dick down. But I was going, and I this one night, and I still have the picture of me somewhere where I was there that night, and I had the cigarette, and I was laying in bed going like, ha 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 ha, with my cigarette. I had this fucking 6-pack of beer bottles. I didn't have a bottle opener, so I just fucking went to the end table, and I was just like, boom, 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 popping the tops off these bottles and chugging these beers. So I checked out at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Was that July 1st? Was that a Friday? I'm gonna remember that here. Or Saturday, yeah. So yeah, Saturday, July 1st, I think. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Anyway, so yeah, I checked out of the hotel like 8 a.m. after I just slammed 6 beers, after I fucking busted the beer bottles open on the end table in the motel, and I was drunk, and I smelled like sweat probably. I bathed, but, you know, still I bathed and then sat there and drank a bunch of beer and sitting there smoking in the heat. So, yeah, I remember I took an Uber then from Oxnard back to Ventura, because then I got a ride from Ventura to LA. And so I'm in this Uber for like fucking 40 minutes, drunk. I'm sure I smelled like liquor and cigarette, or alcohol. Obviously not liquor, because it was beer. Alcohol and cigarettes, and like it was this like older lady driving me, and it was very awkward and uncomfortable. In any case, I totally diverged there. So the top layer of this video is I chroma keyed out basically all the darkness. And so it's just light, but it's actually a 20-minute video of me walking towards this gas station, Jack in the Box, because I was recording on my GoPro for whatever reason, and I just felt like it, which is good now. You know, I have all this footage I never did anything with, so it's nice to kind of still have something to do with it, you know, in these random, locales that I found myself in the last year. So I kind of wanted to give it this, you know, because you have the background, there's like a muffled screaming of a woman from a horror film, like a woman basically being tortured. So you have this, and I have it interspersed with white noise. So it'll be like, ah, then it'll be like, shh, you know, but it's, you know, I don't know, you have to like kind of listen to that to make it out. Then I just had a few sound clips that I had from videos from a couple years ago with random females that I was talking to that I still had, you know, from years ago. And so I just decided to add that in. And so you have like the sickeningly sweet, saturated background with this overlay of essentially where you're speeding at light. Like you know, it's a 20-minute video, whatever, condensed into like a minute. So it's like, you know, basically me walking at a comfortable pace, but it's just speeding up. So that's kind of like in the corner of your eye. And then you have like this like background unsettling screaming. And then you have like this sort of, like on top of that, so it's like this whole layered experience of just unsettling things. And there's just something about that surrealism, you know, about watching something that is unsettling, but yet sort of gives you like a draw, you know, that's sort of like it's not like just, you know, like something like, what's that movie, you know, or just any movie really where like somebody's getting their nail peeled off or something like that, where you're just like, oh god, oh, you know. And like you don't want to look at it. I like it where it's got the surreal psychedelic aspect of it, or just like where it's so wild you don't even know what you're going to look at or what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like somebody's coming up with an axe or something and you're like dun dun dun, you know, and it's like totally obvious what's about to happen and you're like this. I like it where it's just like I said before, you know, you're kind of entranced in something. You know, you're baited with like something that's kind of like ooh, and then all of a sudden there's like something wild and mind fuck going on, and you're like, whoa! So, that's one thing. But of course, also, obviously, I have comedic influences as well, because, you know, for all the fever dream hellscapes that I like to fantasize about in my mind and try to put into imagery and words and audio, I also have comedic influences, and I'm trying to think really what, you know, nowadays everybody has such a similar sense of humor, it seems like, on the internet. Through like all this social media, you know, there's these, you know, you have memes of like, you know, 8-year-old kids with their iPhones or whatever, and they're doing the nay or whatever the hell they do, you know, they're doing their little whatever. There's so many different things out there, but, you know, I always just have had this, I'm trying to think of when the hell it would have even came into my life. Maybe it would have been, I guess probably the first dark comedy that I can really think of watching was when I was a kid. I was probably like 7 years old, and I got a copy of Spawn. Did that come out? Was that 97 that it came out? Fucking hell, when did that movie come out? Spawn movie. 97, yeah. So, yeah, because I got it. It came out in 97, and then in 98 or 99, somebody that my parents knew got a copy of like a VHS, and it was marked in the wrong box. Actually, is what happened. So essentially, I remember I was at my grandparents' house, their old house that they had when I was still really younger for a while. And essentially, I was being left to watch, oh, here's a couple movies we got, we brought over from such and such. And Spawn was put in some kid's movie box by accident or whatever. So I watched Spawn totally, not supervised at all or anything like that. And I would say, I don't recall a whole lot about the movie, but, I would say that it definitely would fall into the dark comedy, some dark humor in there that I might not have been super familiar with before. And then I've been told by my relatives that I've kind of had a dry sense of humor in my life, that I've had sort of a dry wit, and that's just sort of ran on my father's side, from what I understand, for however long. I grew up, I was watching some British comedy back in the day, Monty Python. Obviously, I'm sure you've all watched Monty Python films. Wallace and Gromit was a series that I watched quite a bit of, but I also used to watch, not Charlie Chaplin, whoa, how am I not thinking, Fat Man, Skinny Dude, Stan, Laurel and Hardy, yeah, Laurel and Hardy. I used to watch a lot of Laurel and Hardy shorts. I don't know why my grandparents had a lot of Laurel and Hardy shorts on VHS tape, at this time, but that was just something I used to watch with the slapstick comedy and that older comedy. I really enjoyed that a lot. I didn't really watch any like Three Stooges that I can recall. Oh, no. No, that's not it. Yes, Three Stooges, but I didn't watch Marx Brothers. Yeah, the Marx Brothers was a little bit, older for what I was watching, but Laurel and Hardy and the Three Stooges, that was like my first comedic tastes of like a slapstick comedy sort of thing, I would say. And then some of that British humor kind of came in afterwards. And as far as comedy goes, it's weird because it's like I can't really recall in my like teenage years exactly any very particular comedy based in, like, I as far as blockbuster films are concerned or television programs are concerned, maybe, like, I guess another thing that could go into the surrealist part would be, like, Ed, Edd and Eddy and Courage the Cowardly Dog, two shows that have suddenly been streamed 24/7 on YouTube all of a sudden, dark humor. I wouldn't say maybe Ed, Edd and Eddy's, like, super dark humor, but Courage the Cowardly Dog, definitely surrealism, definitely dark humor there. And Ed, Edd and Eddy, sort of surreal in a sense that, it's the whole art style, everything. There's a lot of sort of, a disjointed feeling with the whole art direction on that program that I watched a lot of both of those programs growing up that I could definitely then, I found an affinity for of sorts. But humor in my teenage years, and I suppose the macabre interest in my teenage years were both definitely influenced, as I mentioned before, in my pre-Eggman history video. I was on Newgrounds quite a bit, and there was definitely a lot of shock imagery going on with Newgrounds, and also, of course, just the internet in general. With Rotten and Ogrish and 4chan, and gosh, I sound like a real tool right now saying that, but just the humor. There was a sort of an edginess, to it, like edgy humor, edgy dark humor with some shock imagery would be, like the edgy thing to make on Newgrounds. It was like, you had your beat up, God, holy shit. It's been so many years, man. There was like a beat up series where you would like punch cartoon characters or whatever, and you like click, and the fist graphic would come out, and it would make, the fucking starburst graphic of like pow, and then like the picture would have like an eye colored black and like a tooth colored black or whatever, that sort of thing. you know, there was just, that was at one point, you know, in like the early 2000s, that was considered like a real, like, shock, a real, ooh, wow, can't believe what they're making these days, boy, oh, whoa, whoa, you know. So there was just things like that, maybe, you know, whereas I feel like maybe because of that, it was easier growing up to develop, like, you know, you weren't so overstimulated, maybe. You weren't drenched in ironic internet meme humor from, like, a young age, and just, you know, everything is like a fad, everything is just like, every day is like something new, you know. You had, it was, you know, you were kind of led into it a little more easily. And that's just my opinion, that's just anecdotal, but, you know, that's just sort of what formed for me. And then as, you know, as time went on, getting it to be older, you know, I turned 18 in 2009, and I was, you know, there was some YouTube watching going on at that time. I started watching YouTube back in 2006. That's when my original YouTube account was made, was in 2006. And so I was watching videos of various sorts for a long time. But, you know, at this time where I'm spending a lot of time online, I was playing a lot of MMOs and things like that. You sort of just, the humor, even back in like 2007, I would say, really, I definitely got into like the full shitpost mode of humor. You know, I used to make flash animations that were loud, distorted noises like and dicks flopping around like this, like cartoon dicks just like spinning around on your screen trying to give people seizures and shit. You know, so I was really in like the full shit post. And then when I was playing World of Warcraft especially, and I was really engaged in the World of Warcraft arena community, you know, every single message was too easy, get good, no problem. You know, you were just, everything was trash talk. Everything was just like this advanced level of like shit posting. You know, you had people that would make their, you know, their character names were these like ironic jokes, and their guild names were ironic jokes, and their arena team names were like, oh, you know, ironic jokes based on just whatever, you know, just the silliest things they could imagine. You know, they would try to make like silly, unthreatening, goofy names, and then they would be number one, you know, rank on their battle group. So I was definitely entrenched in that sort of shit posting mindset for a while, and then I guess I pretty much just, it was really more with my sense of humor, I guess, it sort of came to be almost maybe a way to cope with things as time went on. Because obviously my humor, I would say, has essentially been, you know, it's been tempered in a way from dealing with a lot of bullshit and having to make the best out of a bad situation. And, you know, just when you would have things that would be, you know, really like, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm trying to think of if I really had any good examples, you know. I guess some would be, you know, if you went back, and I don't encourage anybody to do this ever in their lives because it's horrible, but if you went back and combed through some of my 4chan posts that I made when I was using my trip code, you know, every now and then I would make, you know, I would write a little story or something about, you know, just, something like, you know, the Black Pill comics, but in like text form where it'd be like super exaggerated, you know, just, there's a post that's still doing the rounds on Twitter that I tweeted out a few months ago now, actually, where I made this post about the female incel and how, you know, the female it was just kind of goofy and cartoonish, but also has sort of an underlying truth. And really, that kind of just is a good way to describe my comedic sense, is that, you know, I like to, you know, you take something that has truth to it, but is just ridiculous. And, just, you know, nowadays it's easy to do, you know, it seems like every day you wake up and you're like, what the hell is going on in this world? But dial it back. If I was born 20 years earlier, I could have said the same thing in the 90s. I could have been drawing, you know, a Beavis and Butthead cartoon with, you know, with the hippies, singing their seagull song and all that different stuff. Just making, you know, making a light and a joke out of, you know, some ridiculous things that are going on, you know. But I guess that's nothing, that's no shocking, groundbreaking sense of humor by any means. It's, you know, it's been around. But, I'm trying to think, what else? I guess that pretty much probably sort of breaks it down, you know, as far as what sort of artwork do I enjoy. I like the surrealist, psychedelic sort of, you know, sort of influence where you take, you know, just where it's like entrancing almost. And as far as comedic things go, you know, I've always been into like a little bit of a darker humor, just laughing through the pain, and I would say, you know, there's no comic that I could think of that really just, oh, that's the guy who, I mean, except maybe Sam Hyde, you know, but that I would say is really like, you know, oh, that's the guy who I saw that guy and I knew from then on. You know, I've always been a little bit of a jokester, I suppose, in a way, but I guess hopefully that kind of explains it for some people. You know, what is it that I do if I'm not vlogging and I'm not streaming? Well, sometimes I like to make a funky, fresh hip-hop rap beat. In fact, you know what? That's how I'm going to end this shit. I got it here somewhere. I know I still do. This is a song that I made and I never released anywhere. Let's see if I'm going to totally freestyle it 100% a cappella. If I can remember. I think I ended up deleting part of it here, but let's see if I can, because I remember it was like, oh yeah. Smoking on the black and mild, tasting like a Nutri-Grain. Got a couple pistols and they both under a bitch's name. I'm slick insane. Conceived, receiving a sickened brain. Stick, I aim, receive the chains, proceed to cease. I'm MIA, last of a dying breed. Woolly mammoth, my toolie spaz and fleece you like soothing fabric. Hit for 3, I shoot a hat-trick. No Patrick, but my Desi got a 5-point. Oh, and it's a live joint. Leave your mama eyes moist. Matter of fact, I keep one open when I'm sleeping, and I'm hoping that they're creeping, cause I'm itching for a reason just to go to open season. In my dreams, I think of season power far beyond a pretext. I create with ulterior motivations. I'm deceiving, cause the strong resist the season. Strength, cause the strong resist the season. Strength is maintained by perceiving. Your rulers not as demons, but those who are the leaders, supposed to clothe and feed us. If we are deemed in need, but they chose to turn to greed. We expose their dirty deeds, but they close us down indeed. Though we grow and keep the creed, salutations my enemies. Woo, woo, woo. Oh. Sometimes I make a little rap song like that. And sometimes I sing little silly songs like the relaxation song. God, what happened to my knee, dude? Fucked up my knee a little bit. I was crawling around on the ground. I forgot my crutches. I had to crawl a little bit. And sometimes I make little psychedelic videos, and sometimes I make sometimes I make relaxing videos too. There's one that I haven't put out yet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna or not. But it's when I was in Isla Vista, I recorded a lot of footage by the ocean. And I'm kind of just messing around with it, trying to put some psychedelic stuff on it, but I'm not trying to do too much either at the same time, because I don't want it to, you know, people were telling me, they're like, man, I can't even watch this shit, it's making me sick to even watch all the swirling colors, so I'm trying to kind of tone it down a little bit, but at the same time not make it too, I'm trying to find that good medium, essentially, I suppose. So, you know, and yeah, and then I stream and vlog too. So I kind of, I guess maybe it's about time to start defining those niches that I do and try and, you know, however the case might be. But, my friends, you know, maybe a couple minutes shorter than we have the last few days, but I think that's probably still just gonna wrap it up now, for today's episode of Egg Wars. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Egg Wars. Love ya. You're awesome. Much appreciation to you. And we will see you next time.
Sounds from the void.